Hey everyone, let me know if you can hear me in the chat. Looks like everything's working. So mute my YouTube tab. Yeah, quite a few charts to go through. It's a bit late in the day. Sorry, I'm a bit late starting. I've just been lining some tabs up to run through. There was more stuff to cover than I imagined. Obviously, it's been a bit of a slow day with it being a vacation holiday, whatever they call it. Whatever the burgers have, they haven't won Labor Day in the States. So no stonks trading, minimal volume on everything else. But we've had some decent price action today. Obviously like relief bounces from the horrible PA over the weekend and most of last week. So let's see if that continues tomorrow. I'm not sure it will because the Americans will be back at their desks and they have a tendency to smash the red button, as everyone knows. And also our weekly and monthly closes were, especially the weekly closes, were pretty fucking ugly. So, that tends to lead to PA that follows the weekly close trend. So yeah, this is just DXY. Let's make this bigger. Just looking at exactly a week ago, we put DXY in the newsletter when all the shit started. We're having a nice recovery on Bitcoin, and then we got that just slow grind sell off that turned into a waterfall last Monday. And we put DXY in the newsletter just as like a word of caution before the grind turned into a waterfall. Because it was so oversold, especially on the 3-day. I think we put in which was sub 30, which hardly ever gets to. It's been a long time, since January 18, that it was that oversold. And we've had a bounce, so I think that bounce will turn around now. It looks like it's, we're getting a rounding top. RSI hit sort of overbought levels where it tends to reverse. And stochastics rolling over, the MACD is rolling over. So hopefully this will help. This big sell-off on DXY provided minimal help, but let's see. Maybe things will, improve from here. Let's see. Otherwise, generally, liquidities, at a pretty high level. It was at all-time highs last week. If you look at the M2 Global Liquidity Index, looks like it's kind of flatlined a bit. Maybe consolidating here. But yeah, gold's been responding to that. It's been at all-time highs. But hopefully this rolls over, and for the weaker dollar, we get some pump going on the crypto. Let's see. And then I longed uni today. This was a setup I posted on Friday on Twitter. I posted like basically a thread of setups. I think it was on Friday, on the 31st. Yeah. With a big caveat, like if we get shitty monthly and weekly closes, then all these bets could be off. And we got kind of a shitty weekly close. The monthly close was not great, but could have been worse. Speaking about Bitcoin in particular, some of these setups are still valid, and I longed to uni today because I first noticed that ETH BTC was showing some strength. Before anything else moved, ETH BTC was already showing that it was, the major to watch. ETH hasn't moved a whole hell of a lot since much earlier today, but it's at least trying to reclaim this level, 2515, which is a bit of a volume node. So then this starts to look like an atom and a developing Eve, which would be a nice bottom. So I'll be watching that. But yeah, so I noticed ETH BTC was moving. And then I looked at Uni, and Uni had this big ass 4-hour candle, 6-hour we're looking at. And then a little bit of follow through on the next candle. and kind of consolidating here at this volume node over here. But yeah, I actually almost put this in the newsletter today. I ended up putting in MOG instead because it's kind of in an interesting spot. But anyway, I think this can print a nice bottom, which would, in itself be a good long, kind of a 30% move roughly from 615 where we are now. I drew this actually on Friday, I think. Oh no, when did I draw this? Earlier today? I can't remember. But basically, this would be a decent trade. Got a little volume node here, which would be resistance. If we can move up to this point of control and then reassess from there, because that in itself would be a nice bottom structure. You may get some consolidation there. We'll have to wait and see. So we made a local bottom here in roughly the same sort of duration. Similar structure, Adam, and then your rounding bottom Eve, or that's more of a double bottom. But yeah, if we can get up here to $8, and then another interesting chart is actually the Uni ETH chart. This kind of looks bottomy to me as well, although we have this downtrend to get ahead of. But if you zoom out a bit, you can see how Uni ETH tends to be super volatile, and you get these high highs, sell off, and then a big pump. So yeah, if we can get a move like this again, this is basically Uni going to $12. This is back in February when ETH started moving. We've got a really nice run on ETH, and for a short part of that run, Uni outperformed. So that's what I'm looking to capture again. But yeah, before we can do that, we need to break this downtrend. And then, who knows how high we can go. You've got Uni V4 coming. Should be a bit of a catalyst. Not a whole lot of volume on ETH at the moment. Guai was like 4 today or something stupid. It's like approaching Solana level fees at the moment. Bit of a ghost town. But I don't know. Let's see. I just like the chart. That's all I can tell you. And it showed big strength today on the USD pair. DXY, if you get a recession scare or the like, you can have DXY and risk all falling together. Yeah, that's true. Recessions obviously being deflationary. I don't know. Yeah, it's possible, I guess. Yeah, maybe that's why DXY hasn't really helped us. Although I think the recessionary scares, I don't know, it's hard to keep track of the macro stuff. I'm not a macro genius, but there seems to be still like a significant camp of people who argue that the US is either in a recession or on the brink of a recession. We are kind of in uncharted territory with the level of fiscal spending that you have now. Lynn Alden always says nothing stops this train, and that fiscal spending drives the money printing, and that just normal business basically requires for money to be printed, which I guess is true. Yeah, I don't know. DXY, it looks kind of bearish to me. I'm going to take that as a good sign until it's proven otherwise. Stocks have done really well since the carry trade unwound. Where's my ES chart? Actually, Kat, I had your I looked at your tweet today. You quote tweeted this dude. If I do the back thing, yeah, there you are. So yeah, this guy is pretty bearish, or he took a shit this morning and he had a vision of this distribution. This is basically like a pretty typical distribution pattern, very similar to, I guess, what we saw on Bitcoin in 2021 when we had the May top, big sell-off, and then we didn't quite pump that high, but we had another top in November, which was higher than the first top. And then once we made new all-time highs, everyone was like, yay to the moon, but it turned out there were no buys left. And when whales have already gotten out and retail stops buying over here, the whales are not going to come back after, a 10% sell-off. They're gone for the cycle. And that's when you get bear markets. But this all lined up with, if we pretend this is the Bitcoin chart over here, you basically got Fed tightening in March of 22, and that's what really accelerated the sell-off. So is that going to happen for ES, for S&P? I don't know. Let's have a look, because if you look at log charts of the S&P, it actually moves in pretty kind of clean patterns. You've got this quite clean log channel here. This dates back to the bottom of the bear market when DXY turned around. Basically, for crypto people, this was the FTX blow up, and it made a Bitcoin bottom. Didn't affect shitcoins because everybody was convinced crypto, many still are, is a complete scam. And SBF was the face of shitcoins, basically. So what you found was when stocks bottomed and started going up again, it was only Bitcoin that kind of paid attention to that, and the rest of crypto didn't really bother. Nobody wanted it. So is this going to roll over? I don't know. I mean, it's had a decent run up. If you look at this run up here, starting in March 2020 with the COVID dump, whatever you want to call it. We had a run up into 2021, similar duration to what we've seen here. So this actually has been running for a long time. October 22 is still the depths of the crypto bear market. We didn't really see solid market-wide strength. Not market-wide, but, a lot of stuff was strong from October 23, literally a year later. So, yeah, we've had an extended run for stocks. It's possible we could top, but does global liquidity suggest we're going to top? Not really. If we're in a liquidity cycle that runs into late next year, this should keep going, at least into Q2 of 2025. So doesn't look toppy right here. I mean, the market's been closed today, so yeah, I don't know. It looks fine for now, but it's possible. I mean, you've got a bit of a bed of here on the weekly. It's very kind of minor, and the S&P can run bed divs for a long time and keep going up, like what you saw here. Look, this is one long ass bed div that ran from basically for 2 years, from May 2013, 2.5 years, to November 15, before you actually got any kind of major sell-off. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Yes, you do, but you're also seeing your first bear divs on the weekly. Yeah. Thanks, dude. Great minds think of that. Yeah, it's something to watch for sure. Stocks pump, crypto does nothing. Stocks dump, we'll be dumping alongside them, no doubt. Cool. So let's move on to some setups that I shared on Friday and see if it's still valid. Looked at uni. So yeah, this is Bitensor 563's favorite Ponzi / decentralized AI savior of the planet. And yeah, so basically this is the 4-hour chart, and just looking at RSI, it's given good signals for local bottoms on the 4-hour. This one wasn't quite oversold, but it also wasn't that big of a dump. So yeah, this jumped out at me as soon as we hit the 30 level on RSI, and then we had the sell-off last week, which has delayed any pump. But I like that we are reclaiming this high time frame support level, and also the value area low on the VWAP. This is the quarterly VWAP. Is it the yearly VWAP? It's yearly, yeah, yearly VWAP. And then you also have this quite clean uptrend. Is this a log chart? I think it is. Yes, it is. So you have quite a clean uptrend here where you're making higher highs. So to me, the VWAP itself and this uptrend is kind of a good target area for longs if this thing moves, because it hasn't really moved so far today, but it is hanging around this major support level. That suggests to me that it will move at some point. And there was a little bull div on RSI as well, suggesting that there is some strength there. So yeah, I have a little long open. If we make a low on the daily, I'll cut it. So far, it looks okay. Although, yeah, I don't know. So far, it looks okay. Low would invalidate this for me. And then BNB. This thing, I wanted it to hold this level, which it didn't on Sunday. Sunday was just a bad day, bad weekly closes. We should actually look at those. I'll do that in a minute. But yeah, this thing had a shit weekly close, bullish, bearish, engulfing weekly close candle. But it looks like it's trying to reclaim this level today. I don't know. We'll see where it closes. Kind of needs to close above 525, but it seems like it's hanging on anyway. So I drew this, I don't know, quite a while back on the 19th. It was in the newsletter, I think. Basically, just because like high time frame, I'm bullish on BNB, and it had this massive sell-off. Like it had a huge move from when this was roughly when CZ went to jail or basically got arrested, and you know there was a chance he was going to jail or whatever. He resigned basically from Binance, and Richard Teng took over. And this chart looked terrible until then. So you know, this is a huge run up you got into May of 21. Made these highs, and then it was just bleeding. All of the CZ FUD, you know, regulatory action, fated finance from the US, blah, blah. I don't think it never really materialized. CZ basically took the fall, went to jail for a few months. When he did, this thing pumped like a motherfucker. Richard Teng was like MVP at Binance. Basically flipped this chart of doom into like a range. And, you know, within from December to June in 6 months, this thing pumped 3x. And then we had this sell-off here, bounced off this kind of mid-range level. And then another big sell-off into the support here, which is like a big air gap down. All of this liquidity was taken. To me, you know, when we reclaimed this level here at 525, I was like, all of this liquidity is gone. Binance is actually a pretty bullish company. They're onboarding a shit ton of users in the global south and in Asia. A lot of young people. That the first world doesn't have a lot of young people with cash. I don't know. I just like what the company's doing, and I couldn't see it coming back down here with all this liquidity taken. So yeah, I drew the squiggle, and we went to actually front ran that. Let me go back to 4-hour charts. 6-hour, the daily. I actually drew this further out. I've moved it, but we front ran it. We've come back down. I don't know. I still think it's quite likely we go back up here, move through this because there is liquidity resting here, and there's liquidity resting at the highs, and you can see it on the heat map. If you zoom all the way out to 3 month, there's a shit ton of liquidity up here that market makers will want to get their hands on. And then once you've taken that, this goes up to like 620, which, you know, just past this level here, retest here and go up. I still think it's quite likely. Interesting to see how this plays out. But the weekly close, as I said, was shit. So we have to wait and see what happens tomorrow when the burgers are back at their desks. Stock is kind of turning around, but let's see what sell pressure we get tomorrow. And then Aave just had another Chad day. Didn't move for a little while until this last 4-hour candle, 5 o'clock my time. I longed it again around here. Took some off, and I'm waiting to see how this develops, but it looks really good. So yeah, this is a chart I shared on Friday, and similar deal here with the RSI. I mean, it's a pretty left curve TA, to be honest. Maybe I just am a left curve TA person. But RSI is just so obvious to me, like oversold here on the 4-hour. Gives you this local bottom. Same level again over here. Another local bottom. Same level again. A bit lower over here. Massive local bottom. And then we got another one over here, which is what I shared on Friday. I wanted to long that. We moved a little bit, but then we got the big sell-off on majors, which brought us back down here. But kind of made a higher low, and we've made a big higher low on RSI, showing some strength. So yeah, long term, I still think the thing's going way higher. This is just all these notes were in response to a CryptoDog tweet. I don't know if I have that to hand. Replies. In posts. Yeah, so Dog tweeted supply was accumulated by smart money VCs. Just basically shilling Aave, saying you don't need anything else. This dude is like, why is it going up? And he's saying accumulated by smart money VCs starting in June or July. You can see it on chain. So I was like, yeah, that makes sense because that aligns with what we've been saying. We put in the newsletter on 31 July, like over a month ago. We put Aave in with the monthly chart. So if I show you the monthly chart, it's going to look kind of messy, but we got this MA cross in January, and it's compressed ever since. So basically, yeah, then I thought if you can see it on chain, then you can probably see it on the chart. And so I fired up combination distribution, which is an indicator. Basically, let's get rid of that. Yeah, we don't need that. All that. Make some more room. Yeah, so you do have this big, long accumulation range. You can extend this all the way to here already. And starting in June, July, which is what he's saying, actually in beginning of July already. First, you have this sell-off with RSI making higher highs. So basically a bull div on the RSI into the sell-off, showing strength. So that's his, price is going lower, but someone's buying into it because your RSI is making a higher high, making higher lows. Sorry, not higher highs, higher lows, all the way up there. And then you have these local bottoms, which are, if you are accumulating, that's where you want to be buying. But then what you also see on accumulation distribution is that as price is going higher, accumulation distribution is going higher as well. I think what this measures is the distance between candle open and closes. So essentially, when you have accumulation, the theory would be that if you have a candle that opens, sells off, and then gets bought back up towards the open, that shows accumulation basically because sells are being bought into. So yeah, with accumulation distribution rising, with price rising, that implies that you're going to get a breakout, which you got a fake out over here, but then this was the big 5th of August Bitcoin sell-off. So your breakout turned into a fake out, but then very quickly recovered, made this Adam and Eve bottom, and did in fact break out. And we've had another Bitcoin sell-off, but we haven't come back anywhere near the range that we were previously in. So yeah, our BTC pair is pretty strong, and I think this is going to keep going back to all-time highs, which is at around 400 and something. And then, if the cycle's supportive, probably much higher. Oh, this is just Helium. Did we put this in the newsletter? I think we did. Hey, so Meatfish and was a Mantra. I always get you guys confused. Meatfish Mantra and Altcoin Flow are on my channel spamming me about Helium, which I appreciate because it's a super strong chart. And this is the 3-day. So these are 10-20 MA crosses that have been good signals. Gave you a long from like 150, like all the way up to $8, and then a short from 8 all the way down to 380. And it triggered again over here at 385 with a long signal. And now we're sitting on top of support here. Maybe we consolidate for a bit longer here, but it's looking super strong, like relative to everything else. Up 4% today, like not massive, but still it's pretty strong charts. Yeah, I could see a consolidate here for a little bit longer. But a good spot hold, I think. This thing's, it's got users, which is, not a lot of this crap does. People are using this network. It's a good deepen project. Decentralized Wi-Fi project. So one to watch. Cool. Moving on to ZRO, which has done fuck all today. Yeah, I shared this on Friday. Also kind of, I think, let me go back to my tweets. Yeah, so this was the 6-hour chart, that's right. Just want to get the same chart up. Oh yeah, and this thing gave MA cross entry over here as well, but then just lots of chop. So I like that it's testing the value area low on the VWAP. Let me actually get the chart up, the live chart. Yeah, that's Binance as well. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure that I have the right thing. So there's liquidity resting up here, basically, is the long and the short of it. But we're holding the VWAP. This is yearly VWAP. It would be nice to see a bit of strength here. We made a big lower high over here, and RSI has come down to like the 40 area, which often means that it will keep going. You can kind of treat RSI like a range. If it doesn't hold 50, it'll often move down to the bottom of the range. So I don't know if that means if we get another test down here at 350, it's been pretty weak today. But generally, this chart has been strong. That's a lot of charts. Let's just look at a regular chart. Turn this VWAP off. So yeah, I mean, this is like basically a huge range, isn't it? Like you've got this volume node over here with this liquidity resting. but then these two equal lows here are kind of at the bottom of the range, which is also like a support level. Kind of want to see it reclaim this level to believe that we are going up here. Yeah, it's been pretty weak today, which I'm not a fan of, because today is a day for strong charts to show strength, because we don't have sell pressure from the burgers. So the fact that it's been weak today on a day which is not actually that challenging, sell pressure wise, is a bit worrying. And then this is just a tweet from this Jonah dude who I don't even really know who he is, but he has some good sort of macro / crypto crossover content. So he's saying Fed interest rate cuts follow two trajectories: a response to deflationary shocks, aka crises, or a response to gradually easing inflation. And we're in the latter scenario, which is almost always results in a big risk on rally. So yeah, to me, this is another good reason to not be too worried that we're going to have a bear market in stocks, which will bleed into crypto, because we've had quite positive macro data in some respects. We had a weak labor market, but we've had good retail sales. There's been other good data. Inflation's come down. We've got supposedly slow and steady growth, which has been reflected in stuff like the Dow Jones pumping. That's the kind of thing you see in moderate growth sort of environments. So yeah, rate cuts into moderate growth, usually bullish. Fingers crossed. And then this was also interesting from the same dude. If Trump wins, Bitcoin's going to trade at 300K before the end of his administration. Deficits and growth to the moon, USD to zero. TXY, I assume he means. Yeah, basically, I don't know where this data comes from, but this chart basically distills supposedly the campaign policy proposals for each candidate. And the Harris campaign is pretty modest in terms of the spending that they're proposing, whereas Trump is basically at 3.4 trillion for tax cuts, 1.2 trillion to eliminate taxes and social security, 623 billion business tax cuts, and 595 billion lower corporate income tax, which all adds up to like almost 6 trillion added to the deficit, whereas Kamala has only managed 1.2 trillion. And Trump was a maniac during COVID as well. The dude printed so much cash, like 30% of all USD was printed in the space of 6 months or something stupid. So yeah, basically, if Trump wins, this was interesting to me because everyone's bullish on Trump because the dude mouths off about crypto. To me, that shit is virtually meaningless. He's had some good talking points that Ryan Salkus has schooled him on, but do you think he means any of that shit? He'll say whatever it takes to get elected. And actually, if anything, I think it's been negative for crypto in the immediate term because the Democrats have become more kind of toothy about crypto. Maybe not outwardly, but I think they've shit like when Trump releases new NFTs and the next day the SEC serves a Wells notice to OpenSea. There's been a lot of that kind of stuff. So, but having said all that, the point of this is that Trump is going to spend a shit ton of money, which is bad for inflation, bad for the dollar, but probably good for crypto bull runs. Sorry, that's the long and short of that. And then this is Quilibrium chart, one of the strongest charts today. It looks really fucking good. Once it's above this point of control at 30 cents, it's going to look amazing. Before it gets there, it has to beat this downtrend, has to get above the VWAP, and it has to get above this big volume node. But it looks very promising. MACD is turning around, and stochastic's curling up again. So yeah, this looks good to me. Hopefully, when things start to run again, when they start to run again, we're going to see more tech plays get a bit of love. Stuff like TAO, stuff like Layer Zero, stuff like Quilibrium, kerosene as well. Kerosene's been correcting. Let's have a look. I know Cloud has. So potentially could get an entry on kerosene around, and it looks pretty bad low time frame. So bad meaning good. Yeah, this is pretty ugly. So could even get this down here at like 10 cents, maybe per box. See what happens. It's getting pretty oversold, but you could get a wick all the way down here. 12 cents is a buy. Let's make this bigger. Depending on what majors do, obviously. If Bitcoin goes to 40K, then all kinds of shit will hit the fan. And this is Grant's Ponzi that he found this morning. Showed this at like 6 a.m. I missed it as usual. Also, I struggle with this kind of stuff. Like, if all you see is a chart with one green candle up, how are you meant to know? Like, where's it going to turn around? But, having said all that, he showed this thing at $2 basically, and it's done a 14x in one day. It peaked at 30, so 15x. So Grandpa man, this was a goated call. 15x in one day. Don't ask me how this thing works. Well, if there's anything to it. They say they have a new standard for dexes. I don't know how meaningful that is. What I'm meant to read between the lines. I'm not in the right groups for this kind of shit. It's pretty funny, but there's a whole watch list for this that Grant's shared, because it's you can spin up shitcoins on it, which people have been with Gay Abandon. Some of them have pumped pretty hard. Go check out Grant's channel for the links. And then this is Willy Woo, who is sometimes full of shit and has had some bad calls, but on-chain is basically his world. So, I have to take him at his word when it comes to this kind of stuff. Just saying that all the extra Bitcoin supply that we've seen in the last 6 months, which has been huge, German government, Mt. Gox, DOJ, which is basically the Silk Road stuff, is slowly being absorbed. He's tracking that by looking at the Bitcoin inventory on exchanges. I don't know if that's a perfect correlation, or maybe it's as good as you can get. I'm not too sure what paper Bitcoin is. When they say paper gold, they mean ETFs, but this doesn't mean ETFs. I don't know, maybe options trading or derivatives or something like that. But anyway, it's coming down, and it's actually looks like a tiny pump in relative terms of added supply. So apparently that's working its way through the system, which is super bullish because, empty Gox, the Silk Road coins, all that stuff was FUD for years. So to have it flush through the system, not have it hanging over the Bitcoin charts anymore is pretty cool. Oh yeah, we looked at this already. Looked at SPX, ES, and everything already. So this is just Solana. It looks like it's rolling over now, but basically broke this little downtrend. Is this a log chart? Yes, it is. I noticed today that mindshare on Cato for Solana is in the shitter. So maybe this has no follow through. And now it looks like it's rolling over. This looked better earlier, but the MACD is coming around. Let's get rid of that. We have a little build-up here with RSI making higher lows, price coming down, making lower lows. So if we look at Sol ETH doesn't look great high time frame, but it could turn around here. It could bounce here. It's pretty oversold on the 6 hour. This is kind of where it tends to reverse. you zoom out, I mean, it's possible we come down to this level before we reverse. But MACD looks like it's turning around. I don't know. Everyone's waiting for ETH to pump now. There's a big expectation that ETH is going to have a hated rally or a surprise rally. We look at ETH BTC already. No, we haven't. I can't. Yeah, I think we may have. But yeah, it's showing strength. Like above this level, above 0.45 is where I would expect this thing to start moving. It's basically been in this channel since forever. Well, not since forever, specifically since ETH switched to proof of stake, which was here on the 11th of September, 2022. It's been a bit of a zombie coin. I don't know why that is, but it just is. But regardless, it moves to the top of the channel with regularity and reliability. There, just keeps doing it. So if we can clear this level, I would expect it to do that again. You know, will it break out of the channel? I don't know. I kind of doubt it, but it's probably going to go up here. And then, yeah, this is just the BTC liquidation map. Should we just look at the Bitcoin monthly chart? Because that was kind of one of the main events of the weekend, was the monthly close. What is that? And what I wanted to see was to keep the meme alive for us to hold 60K, because that's what we've been doing, which is essentially 6,800 was the highest monthly close last cycle. So as long as we're above that, we've essentially flipped last cycle highs into support, but that is no longer the case with the monthly close that we had. And then kind of worse than that, let's get rid of all this stuff. The weekly close was shit. This is a bearish engulfing candle. It's not what you want to see, because this is already a massive lower high. We already have a lower high here, but it was at least kind of in line with the trend line, so almost like a bull flag. That's not a bull flag. That is a loss of momentum. And this price slide in, and this tends to accelerate the trend. Bearish engulfing candle. You tend to see more bearish price action after this. So today has been a bit of an anomaly. Maybe just a relief pump on the daily. Although, you know, we haven't managed to engulf yesterday, Sunday's horrible candle. Maybe we will before we close. Let's see. But of course, it's an anomalous day because the US is on holiday. So we could get horrendous price action come roaring back tomorrow. And with a weekly candle like this, it's something you kind of have to watch out for. Yeah, so that's a Bitcoin weekly. ETH weekly looks even worse. Yeah, I mean, this is just horrendous. Like, you had this kind of range here, which then flipped into the bottom of it, flipped into resistance. So super ugly. This will be resistance. Will be difficult to reclaim now without some kind of major pump. But who knows? Stranger things have happened. I mean, we had similar structure here. Head and shoulder, big head and shoulders over here, smaller one here. But, you know, when we lost this level, this is the level that we lost. You can see how long it took to finally reclaim it. So, you know, this reclaim, this took longer than the head and shoulders was. So, you know, this is into next year, Feb 25. I don't know. Let's see what happens. Yeah, so tough times for ETH. And then, yeah, let's just have a look here, because the current price action is very much a liquidity hunt. If I go back to Bitcoin, And zoom into like the 4 hour. Let's get rid of that. Basically just chopping down essentially until we reclaim this level in a convincing fashion, meaning like a daily or weekly better close. It's hard to argue that we've reversed. You know, decent daily candle today, but still not engulfing the horrible one we had yesterday. And anomalous day with the burgers not at work. So to me, this potentially just goes to 59 and turns around again. Underside retest of this level. You know, we already had it here and failed. Could even fail over here because, you know, we already did the underside retest here. If it comes back up here, we might actually reclaim it. But, you know, looks pretty weak. You can see how low the volume is today with it being a holiday in the US. And the reason to look at these heat maps is because it shows you where the liquidity is. So with the PA being awful, there's less liquidity, there's less trading going on. So market makers are hungry for liquidity. It's their job to chase liquidity around the chart because that's how exchanges make money. When you access liquidity, trades are made, whether it's you know, a trade that people want to make or it's somebody getting liquidated, stops being hunted. That's how exchanges make money. And when, you know, when there's shitty PA, not that many trades being taken, then the market makers start to hunt for the liquidity, and then, you know, that means stop hunts. So here you can see, although we're closer to this short liquidity over here, there's not a whole lot left to take before it becomes more attractive to move price back down and take all this liquidity here on the long side. So these would be long liquidations. So this is at 56,700. You know, I would expect this to be taken next, especially tomorrow. If we get more sell pressure coming back into the market, there's a strong chance to me that market makers will move price down to grab this chunky liquidity over here. And you can kind of see it on a heat map if we look at the 3-day. Yeah, so there's, you know, there's a bit more to take. We'll probably get a pump up into here because price is pretty close. You know, if we can drive price up, if market makers can drive price up here to take this, they will. But then I would expect it to turn around and just ping pong the other direction and go after these stops down here. And as long as people still long in on leverage and placing these stops, market makers will be chasing after it, I think, in these conditions. With that ugly weekly close on Bitcoin, I think it's highly likely that, you know, we just get this ongoing liquidity hunt. Cool. Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. It's almost an hour of rambling from me. Talk to you all next time.